All right, folks, let's keep talking about dogs. You know, the funny thing is, I was supposed to stay away from all social media and doing this for a little while. My wife asked me to, simply because I put something out the other day, and there were a couple of comments from people that really got under my skin. You know, I don't get a lot of hate stuff like some other people do. I really don't. I'm pretty fortunate and get a ton of support. But the one thing I don't have tolerance for is when someone accuses me of putting some out to try to sell something. You know, because that's exactly the opposite of what I do. I never do that. And so I guess they didn't like the specifics I gave in the video that started this all off. That really irked me, and I had a really bad day. And my wife begged me, just please step away from all social media. She begged me not to have any conversations with anyone, didn't want me to make any decisions, because it really, I went to bed really disgusted, and I woke up really disgusted. But I'm over that. You know, people don't know. I guess that's fine. But people shouldn't jump to conclusions when they don't know you. That's for damn sure. But it's all good with. Let's keep going. Feeding our dogs. That's a big question I get also. All right. I feed my dogs raw and kibble. I feed both. Okay. But this has nothing to do with that. Luca excels on both. He never did fantastic on all raw, never did fantastic on all kibble, but he does very well on both. That's just him. All dogs are different. One of the biggest mistakes I see everyday dog owners and dog trainers make, in my opinion anyway, is they screw around with their dog's food way too much. Okay? My process for feeding my dogs is very simple. They all eat in the same area. Even when I had 4 dogs, they all ate in the kitchen around each other. I just feed the dogs. I don't screw around with them. I don't make them wait and do tricks and do commands. I don't torture them with, I just feed them. I let them eat in peace. Okay? Very simple. I deal with so many people and their dogs that have some kind of possession aggression or food aggression, and you know what I hear from day one? Well, I saw this on TV, I read up on it, you should put your food in your dog's hand, and you should move them over with your body and dominate over the food, and the food is yours. Most of the time when dogs have issues with their food, it's because you created it. You gave that dog a reason to believe it had to be an asshole around its food. All right? I just feed my dogs. I don't do anything. Very simple. Too many people are screwing with their food. Let your dogs eat. Plain and simple. Okay? Not saying there's never going to be a dog out there that has some kind of issues that weren't, you know, started with the owner, but that's it. All right? I can't think of anything else with my dogs, guys, because it's really simple how I live with my dogs. It just is. There's a lot of rules, a lot of structure, a lot of boundaries until the dogs are very self-sufficient. When they could be trusted to make their own decisions, then they're allowed to make their own decisions. I am there to catch them if they make a mistake, just like my kids. Same thing. You know, I never told my wife I'm going outside to train the kids. We just teach them as we're living. We raise them properly. It's the same thing with dogs. Okay, folks? So if there's something I think of with my dogs that may be of interest, I'll try to go back to it. But as of right now, I can't think of anything. Let's start talking about specific cases, maybe. Okay, clients. And I'll reach back as far as I can and think of different dogs. One of my favorite dogs that I've ever worked with. Okay, it was a female pit bull. I get called from a young couple in Nashville. Extreme dog aggression, okay, which they lived with and were able to manage. But the problem was they had 2 other dogs, 3 dogs in total, and now the female pit bull started attacking one of their other dogs. They had 3 females. As seasoned dog trainers will tell you, female on female aggression is awful. It's worse than male on male. I guess it's like real life people stuff. Just kidding. Please don't get angry at me, ladies. So I meet this young couple, awesome people, love their dogs. I see the dogs, and I just went to evaluate the things, which I don't do that stuff anymore, but I went there, I meet the dogs, and we're talking. They told me that this dog actually jumped through their plate glass window to get to a dog walking down the street. That's pretty extreme. That's serious aggression, okay? But now with the dog attacking and the other dog in the house, that's a problem. I said, okay. And we talked, and I asked him, I said, well, that's the dog that this pit bull's attacking. The dog's name was Pooch, one of my favorite dogs ever. How you doing, Heather and Dan? Miss you guys. I hope Pooch is doing all right. Still to this day, this was several years ago, it's one of my favorite dogs ever. And I looked at the dog that Pooch was attacking, and I said, okay. I said, well, there's something wrong with that dog. And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I don't know, but the dog's under a lot of stress. It's like, well, how can you tell? I said, well, look at her. Look at her eyes. The dogs speak through their eyes, guys. And when you've been doing this long enough, you know when a dog's not right, okay? You know when your own dogs aren't feeling right. You just know. It's obvious. To someone who's been training dogs a long time, we know. And I looked at the dog and I said, there's something wrong with that dog. It's just not right. I said, oh, okay, if you say so. And we talked and we set plans to start the training process. Well, before I can get back the following week, Dan called me. And his voice was kind of shaky, and he said, well, I wanted to tell you something. He said, what? He said, well, we took the dog in that you said there's something wrong with. And he kind of hesitated. He's like, the dog has cancer. I said, oh. I said, man, I'm so sorry. He's like, I don't understand how you knew that. I said, well, I didn't know the dog had cancer, but I knew that there was something wrong with the dog, okay? It's very common in a household when there's more than one dog. When you don't take complete control, like we've talked about in all the previous videos here today, it's very common in that instance that one of the dogs will step up and try to eliminate the weak dog. Very common. Very, very common. All right? I'll give you another example. I had a neighbor. Actually, I was renting from the guy when I first moved to Kentucky. Big dog lover, great guy. He had 7 dogs. And had this big, powerful Rottweiler, and he had this Chow that was the meanest, most aggressive dog that I've ever met in my life. He really was. And what had happened, make a long story short, those dogs ran in a pack. That Rottweiler was king of the castle. That was the dominant dog, which we'll get back to that in a minute. What happened was that Chow started getting sick, started having seizures. When that dog started having seizures, I witnessed that Rottweiler take that dog out in the worst way possible. But not only the Rottweiler, every other dog in that pack, including yellow labs and a little yip dog, they all participated in mauling this dog. I had to jump over the fence with a 2x4 and start beating dogs off of that dog, okay? That's because those dogs lived outside, so they had their hierarchy. That's a little different. They weren't inside the home, all right? When that dog got weak, it was time to take it out. So let's get back to my clients, the dogs in the home. Very simple. When you don't take that leadership role, one of the dogs feels like they have to. And when that happens, you're going to lose. There's going to be problems. So another issue they had with Pooch was she was aggressive towards their cat. So when we started training, first thing I did was have the cat come out, and I handled Pooch on a leash, Pooch. And Pooch didn't really do anything. She was really good. Because the instant that you take over that leash, the dog knows. The dog knows if it's in control or not in control. There's no speaking, there's no commands. It's a feeling that dogs understand. Okay, they don't talk to each other. They understand. As silly as it sounds, and it sounds corny, and I don't want to sound like one of these guys, but a dog feeds off your energy, good or bad, always. And that's very, very important. Okay, so right away, all of a sudden, Pooch was good with the cat, no problems. We start the training process like we do with every other dog. All right, every other dog. I was extremely hard on the owners, especially the man of the house, because the only way we fix this is you step up and you can't feel sorry for yourself, and you control every single move this dog makes. Plain and simple. There is no more bullshit. If that dog gets a twinkle in its eye, you're stepping up and you're correcting it. If that dog's ears perk up, you step up, you interrupt it before it even goes. We do a lot of stuff on leash, and then we did all the obedience stuff separate, okay? To make a long story short, the reason I'm talking about this dog, I had a female Dutch Shepherd at the time. Another female dog, very strong dog. I used to do a lot of group classes back then for my clients, not just for people who come to group class. Pooch became an absolute ambassador for the breed. She was a beautiful dog. She had beautiful owners. And every group class, Dan would be there first with Pooch waiting. And when I showed up, that dog would sit up, the tail would start going, and that dog was so happy to see me and my dog, my female Dutch Shepherd. Now, we took a dog that would jump through a plate glass window to attack another dog, and not only be okay around dogs, but she would play and wrestle and fight with my other female, and they'd run all over the place. And she was a happy dog, a very happy dog. The reason I'm talking about this specific case was I never corrected any type of aggression in this dog. I never had to. Not saying I'm against correcting aggression or punishing bad behavior. That's not it. But people are so unbelievably quick to go to it. It's a lot more effective if you do what needs to be done up until that point. But the beautiful thing is, when you do what needs to be done up until that point, a lot of times they never give you the opportunity to correct anything. So when I talk about specific cases, this goes on Facebook, right? In public. So I can't make this stuff up because someone could easily call you out, say that's not how it happened. But that's Dan and Heather with Pooch. Pooch is one of my all-time favorite dogs. If you go through my Facebook stuff from years ago, you'll find her. Probably 7-8 years ago, I guess. But the point is, the owners took control of everything this dog did around the home, outside of the home. You know, we started adding some structured walks. We did the formal obedience. We did the typical e-collar work that I always do. But at no time did the dog ever have to be corrected with the e-collar. So what we see today is a dog has problems. And I watch trainers every single day. They say slap on the e-collar and correct that behavior. Bullshit. That is so temporary. You're never going to have true everlasting results. Not going to happen. I had a call 2 days ago. A guy was blowing up my phone all day long. When I finally talked to him, he was frantic. He has this big, beautiful bull mastiff, hired a trainer, paid a lot of money. One of the issues was the dog counter surfs. The guy put the e-collar on the dog, hit the dog at a high level. The dog got off, kind of acted kind of weird after that, went back to the bad behavior. Now they're going higher, higher, higher on the e-collar, getting to the highest levels, and the dog's blowing it off. But it's acting all fucked up around the house. Really skittish, nervy, you know, real uncomfortable and scared. That's common. Every single day I get calls like that. Every day. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I've been doing this for so long. So these folks that are training dogs for 5 and 10 years, and this is what they're telling you works, they're full of shit. It's because they don't know anything else. You have to put the time in and set that foundation up. So this guy asked me, what do I do? I said, fire your trainer. First of all, he said, I already knew that. And we talked. I walked him through it. He was doing everything wrong. The e-collar work was terrible. The training was terrible. They did everything opposite. I told him a couple of weeks, do nothing except play with the dog, enjoy the dog, a lot of luring and marker training, all positive stuff. I sent him my book that day for free. I've sent now about 300 books out for free to people all over the world. So for people who say I'm always trying to make a buck, not even close. 300 books I've sent out for free, okay? This gentleman's one of them. If he's watching, he'll vouch for that. He's up in Massachusetts. And I said, you read that book. I broke it down so simple that anyone can have, and I will help you get started. So in a week or two, when the dog is back to normal, we will get started from scratch. We will fix that dog that was screwed up with the e-collar. They always come around, and we get a lot of them. All right? So we'll end this video here. We'll get the next one out in a few minutes. Peace.